Now, Daniel Suhr will evaluate David Singer. Daniel.
General evaluator, fellow cats, and especially David. Many people have predicted the end of the physical book, and many have predicted the end of the human speech. But David Singer, you're bringing it back. The first thing is your exaggerations were perfect. I was sitting there and I realized that you said that when you were 4, you went and got your book card. Four-year-olds can't even read. They don't even know the alphabet yet. But it was delivered so well. All throughout the speech, I was trying to evaluate whether this was true or this was an exaggeration, and it was funny. You hit those perfectly. So that was well done. You talked about the 29 cards of books that you had filled out. And I remember thinking, that's a lot of books. And it was funny, but then I was like, wait, I don't even know if that's possible to read that many books in 1 year. So those were good. I liked all of those. The second was great props. You had the Kindle, you had the folders, the books, and you kept referring back to them during the speech. And it made it a lot more vivid, I guess, visceral, of just what you were talking about. We understood it. And I like that. Sometimes there's no props all day, and so it's fun to see that. May I suggest in the future, the one thing was you were discussing at the start of the semester, and you said, at the start of the semester, at the start of the school year. First off, I didn't even notice that. I don't even remember. It took me a while to figure out what you were even saying sorry about, because I realized that in 4th grade we don't have semesters. But I had to double check that even, because everything was so smooth. The exaggerations, it could have even been an exaggeration that you were passing off, and I wouldn't have even known. So I really like that too. Something we can all learn, though, was that spontaneous rhyme in the middle of the speech. At the end, and that was cool. I hadn't seen that before. Was not expecting it. The first rhyme, I was like, wait a minute, I think that was a rhyme, but I didn't think that was on purpose, and it was just part of the flow of the speech. And then it happened again, and then again, and then we all realized what was going on. It was cool. It was a nice way to end the speech. Added a lot of energy, brought some juice to it at the very end. So that was well done. That was a humorous speech. I loved it. And since Shakespeare passed away, people have been predicting the end of the rhyme. But David Singer with panache to bring it back.
Right. Please welcome David's in our next speech. I remember books.
Good morning. Many people have predicted the end of the physical book. You all know the threats. The Kindle, the iPhone or iPad or other e-readers. But I am here to tell you that the real threat to books is not any of these devices. It's me. I learned to read as a child. Did any of you? I don't mean to brag, but I had my first library card before I started school. I had to lie to get it. I didn't know I was lying exactly, but I had to lie. See, I lived just outside the city of Richmond. That just outside was important because they had the only library in the area, and it was only for people who were residents of the city of Richmond. I couldn't get a card. Fortunately, my grandfather owned a store in the city of Richmond. So he took me to the library and helped me fill out the application, used the address of the store as the place. The librarian looked at me a little oddly and said, well, where do you go to school? And he coached me with the name of the school there. And with panache, I answered, Grace Errant School. It wasn't true. In fact, I didn't know where Grace Errant School was. In fact, I still don't know where Grace Errant School is. But I got the card, and I started taking out books. And after a few visits, I started taking out more books. Every couple of weeks, I would get my grandfather to drive me to the library, and we'd go with this big box. Well, it was this big. Of books, and I would fill it with books. I'd fill it with kids' books. And after a while, I would start exploring the rest of the library. I would add books from other sections. I'd pick up humor. I'd pick up biography. I'd pick up science. I'd pick up math. I'd pick up science fiction. I'd pick up math fiction. And 2 weeks later, I'd take this big box of books, and it really was about 20 books, and go back and say, I want more. The librarians looked askance at me. They didn't believe I could read that much. And they'd ask me what was in the books. And I'd tell them, because I really was reading them. And they'd eventually let me get more. And they'd let me explore further and further in the library. I was probably one of the very few 6 or 7-year-olds who checked out Pat Boone's book on puberty. And I read it. We'll let that one pass for a bit. School came. And school was great, because at the beginning of every year, I got a pile of books to read. And I read them. And the rest of the year, I didn't have any homework to do. So I went to the library. The school librarians were terrific, because they welcomed me. They wanted to keep me busy. They wanted to keep me entertained, and they were happy to talk about the books. It was great. In high school, it was even better, because I could work in the library. All the books I could ask for, I could even influence the librarians in what books to buy, because I was really into science fiction. In 10th grade, our English teacher made us fill out a form. And during the year, you're supposed to fill out one of these, and it had 3 columns. One for author's name, one for title, and one for a few words about the book. And the goal was to fill the form by the end of the year. And most kids managed to do that. Not me. I filled out 29 of them.
Oh.
One for every letter of the alphabet, and one for each of my 3 authors, Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein, and Arthur C. Clarke, because I really like science fiction. Now, just between us, the card with Q as the letter of the alphabet was a little light, but I got the rest of them. College came. More books. They were a little harder. Okay, they were a lot harder. And more opportunities for social life. I had terrific weekends. Every Saturday morning, I would get up, leave my dorm room, go over to the bookstore, take $10, and buy 3 books, because books were 3 for $1 back. 3 for $10 back then. Yeah, it's been a while. And I'd bring them back to the room, and I'd read them. That was my social life. I think I missed something, but I'm not quite sure what. Eventually, though, I got married. My wife, Diane, is also a reader, and we belong to 2 book clubs. And when we moved here from Florida, IBM paid to move 90 boxes of books. When our son was born, Jeff, we'd read to him, and it was great. He didn't really care what we read to him either. It was terrific. You could read him Dr. Seuss. You could read him Mr. Spock. You could read him Dr. Spock. It was all the same. Things were great, but there was a cloud on the horizon. The internet. I got the internet, and I discovered things. I discovered Wikipedia. When I was a kid, I loved to look at encyclopedias and bookstores and follow links. Start reading one article, and I never knew where I'd wind up. With Wikipedia, you could do that for a very, very, very long time. I never quite dropped from heat exhaustion and dehydration, but I came close. And there were blogs, and there was Facebook, and there was Twitter, and there was Tumblr, and there was... So I never had to get up. Even worse, there was the phone. Now I never had to be without the internet. But I kept buying books anyway. I would buy them for my Kindle. I would buy them for my phone. I would buy them at a bookstore, and then I'd take them home. I would buy them at a Worldcon. Sometimes they were even free. I would buy them and I'd buy them. It was really fun to see. But I read them. That's the problem. Yes, indeed, that's the rub. I would buy them, but I wouldn't read them. Oh, I wouldn't, Toastmasters Club. And today, I have this big box. I mean, big box of books that I haven't read yet. I keep buying them. I remember books. I wonder if they remember me.
Oh, David, you made me not feel so guilty about all those books I haven't read yet that I bought. Let's